First of all, how you doing, Eddie?
I'm all right, man. How are you?
I'm good, man. Thanks for asking. I appreciate you being here. For those that might be watching, I shouldn't have to say who this is, but the mask is hiding half of his face, so you may not be aware. But this is the incredible producer extraordinaire. How would that be? 1/4 of Heavy D and the Boyz?
Yeah, 1/4 of the performing group, but actually, me and Heavy were actually business partners.
Right. So half of Heavy D and the Boyz from an audio sound wise, visually
right.
1/4 of Heavy D and the Boyz. So hopefully the other cat doesn't get upset about that.
Oh no, that's my family. My family, G Wiz. Yep.
But everybody was an important figure in the group. Let's just be clear. Let's be very clear.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Shout out G Wiz. And as a matter of fact, man, on that note, real quick, because I don't get to talk about it a lot. A lot of people don't know G Wiz. You know, he wasn't just one of the dancers. He was a lot of the fashion concept of the group. A lot of the outfits. A lot of when we had like the kente cloth first, when we had like the bald head first, when we had the twists in the hair first, a lot of that was G Wiz. He was kind of like the in-house fashion. He never really got credit, in the forefront for that. He was an in-house stylist before stylists were popular as far as styling and imaging in the group. So I want to, being that you brought him up, I want to, put that out there.
Did everybody have divisions like that? Like, did this one person do this? Did this one person do this? Or did it just happen to be? Since we brought it up, let's go back to the beginning with Heavy D and the Boyz. Then we'll catch up to where Eddie F is now, what's going on in his life now. But let's go back there. How did this whole thing come about for those that may not even know the story?
Trouble T. Roy was Hev's best friend. And also G Wiz lived with Trouble T. Roy at the time. So he was the one who knew everything. He actually introduced me to Hev. Mount Vernon is small, and so everybody kind of knows they knew everybody, even if you didn't hang out with them on a day-to-day basis. But Troy was the one who knew everybody and kind of put the group together. See, I remember I was doing a party, I think it was like Mount Vernon Boys Club or something like that. Troy's the one that actually brought Hev to the party I was setting up, ahead of time. He's like, yo, this is my man Hev, and he's trying to make a record and so on and so forth, Eddie F. And then, so he was the glue that put everybody together. He was the common link. G Wiz not only was the other dancer, but he was pretty much the in-house image consultant. I was the music person, the producer, and part of the, the business and strategy. And then, goes without saying, Hev was also the business partner, lead, the rapper, conceptualizer of the songs, et cetera, et cetera.
How fast did it take you guys to figure out that y'all had a chemistry, could work together, you and Hev, before y'all got to the first single and then things taking off for y'all?
You know what's so crazy? When I started hanging out with Hev like that, we clicked like immediately. This was before we even had dancers. We had even figured out that we were going to have dancers in the group and all of that stuff. It was originally myself, Hev, one of my partners and co-producers, Neville Hodge, he was a keyboard player, and Al B. Shore. We were the original 4 people that kind of like used to be in the basement coming up with ideas for songs and stuff like that. That's where everything kind of came from. You know what I mean? We were the original members of the group. I'm sorry, I misspoke. When I said part of the group, I didn't mean part of the group Heavy D and the Boyz. I meant part
of the group of the people that hanging with each other.
Yeah, the creative crew.
I'm like, this is some new history.
No. I don't mean like the group like that was the.
No, but this is a group of like-minded individuals when it came to making music. So you got all these talented people. When do you know that, hey, we getting ready to go do this Heavy D and the Boyz? And of course you said Al B. Shore is there. How does all this start to break down?
When we first started, I knew Al from school. Al was my man. We would hang out. Al introduced me to Neville. And we all started making demos together. But this is the funny thing. In the beginning, Al B. Shore wasn't a singer. He could always sing, but he was a rapper. And he was rapping.
I never heard this.
He used to rap in the style of Slick Rick. As a matter of fact, he'll tell you, and this around on the internet, that's how he got his name, because I used to DJ. There was a part in a record in Dana Dane, Nightmares. And there was a part where he used to say, after the one before, I'll Be Sure.
She said, listen, Dana, I think I have the cure, but I have to hear one more before I'll be sure.
I used to cut that part, I'll be.
Okay.
In a while it was slipped to the I'll Be Sure. So then he actually just named himself I'll Be Sure. And back then, there was a lot of that. If you go back in history, the Cold Crush, and it was a lot of rappers that could sing and would sing and rap. And we were all just trying to figure out the best way to get a deal. It wasn't like a group. It was just a bunch of us creatively making demos. It was just kind of like you would make a mixtape. Oh, and the one important part, I had the DJ equipment, turntable, speakers, all that. I'll Be Sure had the 4-track. He used to bring it to the house and we would do demos on that.
For those that may not understand what a 4-track is, a 4-track, you could record different tracks on, and y'all probably were using cassettes back in the day.
Yes, cassettes.
You could record different, so you could do your music on one track, vocals on one track, if you want to scratch on another track, and then you can mix it all together and it sounds like a song.
So that's how you could make a demo. And the Bell had a keyboard. So it was kind of like everybody had something that was needed. And I used to read the records. Back then you have credits on the record. So I would notice that all the top artists, they were all the same company. And at the time it was Curtis Blow, Houdini, Run DMC, all the artists that were in Crush Groove. Anybody know Crush Groove? You go back to Crush Groove.
Classic movie.
Yeah, everybody was at the same company, management, except the Fat Boys. They were with somebody else, but everybody else was with this one company, Rush Management. And back then they used to have the address on the record. So I remember saying, we should try and go to Rush and try and, we didn't know, we kids, we didn't know you couldn't just go try and meet Russell Simmons. We just like, yo, we gonna go try and get a record deal. And then Al looking through the phone book and he found a number, and I remember he called, and again, we kids, we 18, we don't know you can't just call and get Russell Simmons. So he calls like, yo, can I speak to Russell Simmons? You know what I mean? And obviously we didn't get Russell Simmons on the phone, so we like, okay, we're gonna go down there. We drive down, a couple of days later, we borrow Hev's mom's car, and then Troy's big brother gives us directions how to drive, get to the city. We go to the city, we go to Rush Management, and we basically just come in, no meeting, unannounced, nothing, and just like, hey, we here to, meet Russell Simmons. The receptionist, they're like, Russell, he's not here, whatever. So a guy comes out the back, and he's just saying something to the receptionist, like giving us paperwork or something to type or something. And at the time, it was Andre Harrell. He was vice president of Rush. So he sees us, and he's like, where y'all from? And we're like, Mount Vernon. And back then, he thinks Mount Vernon is like Mount Kisco, like it's way, way, way far. He's like, you all the way down here from Mount Vernon? Like, so Mount Vernon, is right outside of the 5 boroughs. Mount Kisco is like an hour and something away from the city, way upstate. He's like, yo, y'all came all the way from, in his mind, Mount Kisco. And we like, yeah. And so he's like, who are you? Like, he's talking to him, Prince Marky D. And then we had a demo. He's like, and who are you? Rick Rubin Jr.? Because I was the producer. He listens to our demo and he says, you got something, but go, and I forget exactly what he told us to do, but he's like, do this, change the hook, this is too long or whatever. So we run home, change it like immediately, like that day, redo everything, make all the changes he said, and then Hev is calling. Hev is calling every day, trying to get Andre on the phone. And every 4 or 5 days, he might speak to him once for like 5 minutes. It's like, everything, yo, did you get him? Did you speak to him? Did you speak to him? So ultimately, he kind of develops like a telephone friendship with Andre, talking to him. Andre likes him, thinks he's cool. Now, we didn't know this, but in the background, Andre is setting up his own deal. He's about to leave Rush Management and start his own company, Uptown, with the compilation. Now, we didn't know that, but that's what was happening in the background. So one day, we get the call, hey, I'm starting my new company. I'm starting my own company, Uptown Records. I want to sign y'all. And that's basically how we got our deal. Now, that didn't happen that fast. That happened in 3 months, 6 months. It took a while for that whole process of the calling and but that's how it happened. Al wasn't on those records, the demos. It was just Hev. Al was still hanging out. He was still part of the crew. Al didn't get a deal till later on. Once we got a deal, we were on the compilation, hit a demo, and the demo was Off on Your Own. I gave that demo. For first, we were thinking Hev was maybe gonna rap on it, and Off on Your Own was just gonna be the hook. It was gonna be like Al singing the hook, but they already had singing verses and everything. So I was like, I'm gonna play this for Andre to see, you know. So I played it for Andre, and I was like, you know, man, he's a singer. You know Al. You've seen him around. So he ends up taking a meeting with Al, and when he takes the meeting with Al, it's not just Andre. It's like his girlfriend, some other people around. They're like, you know, so in the meeting, I guess they're like, oh, you know, he's good looking. You should sign him. He does a deal, and he enters Al into the Quincy Jones contest. Even though he's discovered through the Quincy Jones, Sony Innovators, there's a step that was before that, because I played the demo for Andre, which is what got him entered into the contest. And that's how Al got his deal on Warner Brothers and became, you know, I'll Be Sure. My thing was this, and I don't talk about this a lot, but I'm gonna start talking about it because a lot of it's getting lost in the history books. Mm-hmm. I try to put as many people on as I could from Mount Vernon. When I got in the door, because to me, that's how it was. It was just like, yo, we a small town. We all trying to come up. So when I got in the door, I try to put everybody I could in the door. Even my company, Untouchables, that I end up starting, I didn't start it like, yo, I want to have my own label. I want to have my own company. It wasn't started because of none of that. It was started really because I was trying to get my friends on. Pete Rock and Novell, they were supposed to sign with Uptown as producers. And after waiting, and them calling me every day and saying, hey, what they say. And then, you know, a month or 2, 3 months, one day, Pete and Novell called me and said, yo, why don't you just manage us? I'm like, let me think about it. It didn't come from, yo, I'm trying to create a company. I'm trying to make money. It came from, yo, we're trying to make hot music. I'm trying to put my friends in the game. And then we just made great music. And then that turned into a company and more people. And then the same thing, I just tried more and more people, you know, Dave Hall, Kenny Smooth, they were all from Mount Vernon. And I just tried to put as many people in the game as I could. And then I had like a piggyback system. They hired me to remix Johnny Gill, Rub You the Right Way. And then I took Pete and Novell in the studio with me. And the reason why I did that, not only because they had the talent and we was all gonna bounce off each other like we always do. If I work on an established artist with one of my producers that's quote unquote unknown at the time, then now when it's time for the next thing, I can say, oh yeah, you know, this is my man such and such. This is Pete Rock. He worked on the Johnny Gill. This is Novell. He worked on the Johnny Gill. When I did the In Living Color theme song, I did it with Dave Hall. I would do that with people. I would put them on a project that I was working on that had a whole high profile name on it. So then now when I went to put them on the next project by themselves, I could say, oh, they worked on Mary J. Blige. They worked on The Living Color. They worked on LL Cool J. They worked on, you know what I mean? So right. I kind of did that as a launching pad. And that's how I set up a lot of the guys. Another thing I did was, which is, now people don't do this. I stayed out of the way. Like when I set them up, I purposely stepped out of the frame. Like I didn't want it to be like, these are Eddie F's guys, or Eddie F kind of did the record. And I would purposely go ghost and be like, I'm like nowhere around. I don't want to, I want them, because my concept was to have a whole team of A producers. I used to go to record label and they say, well, if you don't have time, why don't you put your B team on it? In my mind, I was like, I don't have a B team. Like none of my guys are the B team. Everybody's the A team. From a quality standpoint, it ended up being a good thing because everybody, you know, it's better, you know, you can have a team where you can have one superstar, or you can have a team where like you got 7 dudes that's dope. So even dudes coming off the bench is crazy. You know what I mean? Could be starters. That's how I looked at it, and that's what ended up ultimately happening.
Eddie, when you guys signed, what was the song that got you all signed? Let me go back a couple of steps. What was that song?
The song that got us signed was a song called Gold Fingers. It was a DJ song. It actually never came out. It was just a demo. And it was us kind of doing.
That's the song that you had took to Andre. Well, you was taking to Rush Management.
Yeah, yep. It was a, and I still look for the demo. I can't find it anywhere. It might be somewhere in my mom's house, somewhere behind the box or somewhere. If I ever find it, I'll.
No, you know I want to hear it. You know I want to hear it.
It was a cool little song. I wish I could find it, but and then we end up doing Mr. Big Stuff. That's when Andre introduced us to Teddy Riley. We went to record it at Rooftop Studios. I had the beat on the DX for Mr. Big Stuff, and I had extra sounds, but the DX can only hold a certain amount of sounds. Teddy had just done the show with Dougie Fresh. Teddy, he had a DX too. So I don't even know, to be honest, I don't know if it was his DX or if it was the DX at the studio. We ended up linking both DXs together, and then he added the shakers, and then he added the drum roll. Yeah, and then made it like, and this is the dope part, made it like the go-go. Like there's a breakdown. Doom, 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 doom. A lot of people don't know Teddy was a drummer. Besides playing keys, he played the drums. He was one of them, child prodigies in the church that just played everything. Drums, keyboards, guitar, whatever. He played everything.
But Teddy's name has no credit, like he don't have no credit on the show either. But
no, it's on there on the album, but you would never see it unless you get the album. So it says it's produced by Andre Harrell because he was in charge. Co-produced by Eddie Up because I had the main drum beats and everything. And in the credits, it says drum roll and shakers produced by Teddy Riley in the credits. Now that has nothing to do with me. I don't even know what a producer is at that point. I'm just a dude who got beats. That's Andre and Teddy. I'm like, I don't know. I'm just I'm just like making beats.
Did Andre actually tell y'all what to do for this record as to how it was shaped, as a producer to be now? I'm just curious, to be honest.
Yeah, he did. He did guide it and arrange it. I'm going to tell you something, too. He changed some of the drum sound. Like, he had us change the snare drum. Okay, so we changed the snare drum to make it more appealing to R&B radio, not so harsh. But to be honest, the original version of the record was way more fish grease hot than what we end up making, because we watered it down to make it less abrasive but make it more acceptable with regular R&B radio. But if you remember back in those days, the type of records that were out was Bambaataa, WizKid. Remember the Art of Noise drum sounds?
Yeah.
They had them like real aggressive. Exactly. Yeah. That snare, that's the snare we had on Mr. Big Stuff. To the point, people from Mount Vernon that knew the record, I used to play it at the parties when we were coming up, but before the record got released. People that knew the record, when it came out, they were like, man, yo, why y'all like watered it down? Like, it wasn't the same aggressiveness, but it made sense because it made heavy. You know how he kind of appeal to adults and everybody. It went towards that. We didn't understand it because we were 18 kids. Like, we like, man, we want the raw, like the rugged sound. But it sounded a lot more raw before we changed it like that. And Andre was the one who did that. He also helped arrange the song. And by the way, the same thing happened with me on Uptown's Kicking It. I did all the drum beats, all the drum tracks for Uptown's Kicking It. It says produced by Tony and Ulysses Sandkids and co-produced by Eddie F. But I did all the drum beats. I didn't produce these records. I'm not going to say I produced the record. I didn't even know what a producer was. I was a DJ. So I had sensibility of what sounds good, but I didn't know what a producer does. The first person who really gave me an idea of how you arrange a song and format a song was Teddy Riley. I remember, and I wish I had this piece of paper. It's probably somewhere in the same place where that tape is. He wrote out an arrangement for a song, like 4 bars, 12-bar intro, 8-bar verse, 8-bar hook, verse, hook, breakdown or change, turn around. Like, it had the whole, like, how you could structure a song. That's how I learned kind of like how to structure a song as a producer from Teddy. On that note, I just want to say something real quick. I talk to Teddy about this all the time. I never had a chance to really put it out there, but I told him, I said, yo, man, when people call you and these things, I said, you know how they honor people and they talk about people and they talk about the records they did, you know, when they giving you an award or something. I said, man, tell some of these people to call me, man, because I said, everybody knows that Teddy Riley makes hot records. Everybody knows Prerogative and Michael Jackson and the hits. What they don't know is that Teddy give a lot of shit away. He gives a lot of information, drum sounds, and that's something I wanted to really put out there, because a lot of producers, the common thing that producers will do, older and new, is if they have a sound and you come in their studio, they like, you know, they want to hide, like, they're not just going to be like, this is what keyboards I use and this. Teddy's the exact opposite. Teddy will be like, oh yeah, you know, we use this and that. And matter of fact, yo, you got a disc and yo, I'm going to give you some sounds. I'm going to load you up with sounds and yeah, you should buy this machine. You should buy this keyboard. And to me, it came from a confidence and a generosity. It's like he just could give. He didn't feel threatened. He did this with a lot of people. When you look at Eddie F, I'll Be Sure, Kyle West, you know, Pharrell, like, and you just keep, and when you go back, there's a lot of people that work with Teddy that ultimately end up doing their own stuff. He just planted so many seeds and gave so much away, and then people turned around and made a bunch of hit records. So when you look at the family tree, you know, it starts with Teddy Riley, and then there's, you know, and then it's Eddie F, and there's Untouchables, and then he gave information to Puff, and gave some to Devontae, and then he gave some to I'll Be Sure, and then he gave it to Jodeci, and it's like you could just, it's so many people, and when you go all back, and then the Neptunes and Pharrell, and just when you look at all the stuff, you're like, damn, Teddy, you planted a lot of seeds out there. You made a lot of, not only the music that you made, but all the other people that you gave information, that you just helped, that you taught things, that you just freely gave away that most people will hide. And I think nobody ever talks about that. Nobody ever really gives Teddy that credit.
Earlier talking about the vision that Andre Harrell from Uptown had for Heavy D and the Boyz. Heavy D actually and the Boyz actually did become that kind of like fly guy, kind of like group, always looking fly. You made fly music. You never really, that hardcore that you speak of, that never kind of sort of was Heavy D and the Boyz. Y'all were like fly guys.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Was that on purpose from Andre Harrell? Like, I want y'all to be kind of like you big, but you're going to be like this sexy guy. And y'all going to be these dudes. And y'all do the...
That was Andre, and it was Hev. Hev definitely, he did not want to be associated with being like fat or like food or eating. I would say a 60% Hev, 40% Andre, because it was like Hev first. And then once Andre was like, oh, yeah, you the big fly sexy dude. You like not only representing the young and the hip hop, you representing these dudes too. And he said, when you come out there, the old way lovers in the house, that was like kind of an aha moment. Heavy D could appeal to the kids, the adults, the grandma, and then he didn't curse in records, but he still was fly. He still was cool.
And y'all were always cool with that? I just always wanted to know, like, because you wore, it seemed like the group, especially Heavy, you wore this outfit well, of being that guy. There was no cursing. There wasn't no blatant disrespect in the music. It was all about love and fun, having a great time and dancing and all that kind of stuff.
That was Hev.
Okay.
That was Hev. That was him. That was the essence of who he was. Like, before the group, he had been down the knucklehead route. I remember him saying, yo, Eddie, he's like, we get a record deal, I'm quitting smoking and drinking. And the day we got a record deal, he just stopped like that cold turkey. He never smoked or drank again. And so the reason why I'm saying that's important is because even though Hev was a like cool guy, clean cut dude, he already knew. He had been through the street. If I could compare it to somebody who actually was a good friend of Hev, you remember not The Rock, the Rock now. What's his name? The actor, Dutton.
Oh, from the TV show The Rock.
Yeah.
I know you're talking. Dutton is the last name though. You got the right name.
Yeah. he was kind of like him. He was a dude that
Charles Dutton.
Yeah, and from what I understand, I think Charles Dutton had
been to prison. I think he did some.
Yeah, he had done some time with it. So it's like somebody that had seen that side of the tracks, but now was kind of like, you know, a mentor to other people and a positive influence, but understanding that because having been through that, Hev was kind of that person. That's why he was so real that's why the knuckleheads and the killers and all that was like, yo, Hev is my man. Because he was cool, but he was now like, yo, I'm going to be, you know, that solid dude for everybody, the respectable. And then his family, his mom and dad, some of the best people that you could ever meet, you know, just real, you know, quality, you know, people, morals, ethics, you know, he just had that, you know, that solid foundation, and it came across, you know, so it wasn't Hev playing a part or it's like the essence of who he really was.
I've never heard of Heavy D and the Boyz or Heavy himself, or nor even you, in any kind of beef. During those times, was there any ever a beef with any other artist, group, rapper, whatever? Because I've never heard no one ever say anything bad.
There was some little stuff, but it wasn't, if anything, it was a misunderstanding that ended up being worked out like right away. You know, we was on the road with all kinds of different rap artists, everybody. So there was always, but Hev always gravitated, you know, people always loved Hev. Yo, we were on the road with Ice-T, Too Short, Hammer, not the Genie Pants, the I Sold 10 Million Hammers, the before that, brother.
The Pump It Up Hammer.
Yeah, the like, yo, I'm from Oakland Hammer. You know, one of our first tour runs, when we all just had a single, we was on the road with Easy and NWA. You know, I still got that flyer. Jazzy Jeff and the Fresh Prince, the Philly dude, Steady B and them. The other dude, I can't even think of his name right now, but the other DJ, he's a legend in Philly. I'm sorry, I can't think of his name right now.
Cash Money.
Cash
Money, because the rapper was Marvelous, right?
Yes.
DJ Cash Money.
We even done shows with like Schoolie D, like everybody, man. It was new, man. And then not to go without saying, Kid and Play, Salt and Pepper, Dane and Dane, Kwame, Sweet Tea, Joski Love, EPMD, and then Public Enemy. You know what I mean? Just Slick Rick, Doug, Fresh. Man, it was crazy, man.
I'm glad. Okay, listen, since you mentioned all those people, do you think you guys get acknowledged the respect?
No.
Okay. Because first of all, y'all had a whole bunch of hits. When it comes to We Miss Heavy, I hear that. I've never heard anybody, like, when they start mentioning the history of hip hop, I've never heard Heavy D and the Boyz. I'm like, how can you miss out on Heavy D and the Boyz?
Let me tell you why I think. Because we straddled the line between hip-hop and R&B.
So you think hip-hop is holding that against y'all because your music work? Really?
Yes, because when you listen to our records, some of them are, but a lot of our records are not like those bangers like that. Because
they are. Come on, man.
No, listen what I'm saying. I'm not saying they not hit records.
Okay, I feel okay.
Okay. We definitely had hit records. I'm not shortchanging the group. What I'm saying is that it's almost like having commercially successful rap records versus having in the club rap records. And we always had radio rap records. I'm gonna tell you, I'm gonna go on the record right now. People they not giving the history. They not giving the history. Like, Hev was the first rapper to rap on Michael Jackson. The first rapper to rap on Janet Jackson. You know what I'm saying? Like, then, you know.
Heavy did that before LL? Because I know LL had a track that they never released.
Well, I don't know if they ain't release it. Hey, if they ain't release it, it don't count. I'm talking about it was out. Janet Jackson, Michael Jackson first. You know, I'm going to just stop right there. Yo. You're not gonna give Heavy D credit for being the first rapper that rapped on Michael Jackson in the first, and Janet Jackson, Michael and Janet. Not like, these are superstars. This is like our like black royalty. Michael and Janet. That's like That's like, I rapped on the Beatles first and I don't get no credit. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, they don't give Have credit for that. That's crazy to me.